Well, good afternoon, EBC. I hope that today finds you well. I just wanted to give you a quick recap of our Word on Wednesday gifted series from last night and invite you to join us next week. And so we launched this week. It was our introduction. This is going to be a series that if you can't make every single week, I would still encourage you to attend. You can still learn and be blessed. This is not one of those series that you have to be at every single week, although we would love to have you. And so we had a prayer and worship time. We had teaching from Dr. Marlene, teaching from myself, just talking a little bit about Ephesians chapter 4 and the fivefold ministry, as well as the gifts of the Spirit that are laid out in the New Testament. And so our focus is on last night just looking at God as a giver of good gifts, that God created the world, that God gave us his one and only Son, that God is a giver of goodness. And the Bible tells us in James 1:17 that every good and perfect gift comes from above, coming down from the Father of lights, that God is a God that gives good gifts. And so when he tells us in the New Testament that he has these gifts for us by the power of the Holy Spirit, we need to be a people that are willing to receive whatever it is God has for us. And so this series seeks to unpack what some of those spiritual gifts are, how God works in us and through us, and how can we look at these spiritual gifts with fresh eyes? How can we say, God, whatever it is you have for me, however you want to use me, I'm willing. Because what we really feel is that many of us avoid the gifts of the Spirit out of fear. Maybe there's a lack of understanding or a lack of knowledge of what the spiritual gifts are. Maybe somewhere in your history you experienced a church setting where you saw gifts used and abused, or maybe there was some confusion. And so we want to have a fresh look at what the spiritual gifts are, as well as the fivefold ministry, and just talk a little bit about that, because we serve a God that is inescapably supernatural. We believe that the world was created by the power of God, that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, that he is a good God that gives good gifts, and that we would be foolish to not tap into all God has for us. So then we looked a little bit last night at the idea of cessationism and continuism. So if you don't know what cessationism is, it's just the belief that the gifts have ceased, that these gifts are no longer present for today, and that we as the church don't have access to that same power, at least not in that way. That's a very small snapshot of what cessationism is. There's much more to it. And then we just kind of looked at some of the arguments for cessationism, and then we looked at some of the counter-arguments and how we feel that the balance of scales is weighed very heavily towards continuism, that these gifts are still relevant for today, that we are in the church age, and we still believe that the power of the Holy Spirit gives us access to these spiritual gifts, and that they are just as needed today as they were back then, and that we want to have all that God has for us. And so I would just invite you, if you missed this week and you'd like some of the notes, maybe you can reach out to myself, awdoucette@ebcmeet.com, awdoucette@ebcmeet.com. I can send you the notes from Dr. Marlene, from myself, so that you can access. And we would love to have you join us in person next Wednesday as we dig a little bit deeper into gifted fivefold ministry and spiritual gifts. I just pray that you have a great day, and I hope that I will see you next Wednesday. God bless.